I left $14,400 on the table at my last job. Not from a bad investment, not from a market crash, not from a decision I consciously made and later regretted. I left it there by filling out one form on my first day of work, putting a number in a box without understanding what that number controlled, and never opening that form again for 4 years. The number I put in the box was 4, my 401k contribution percentage. My employer was matching contributions dollar for dollar up to 6% of my salary. I did not know the match existed. I did not read the benefits summary closely enough to find it. The HR representative who walked me through enrollment on my first day mentioned it in a sentence I did not register because I was simultaneously trying to remember where the bathrooms were and what my manager's last name was. I showed up, I filled out the paperwork, I got back to learning my job, and for the next 4 years, my employer deposited free money into an account I was technically allowed to have, and I collected none of it because I had never updated a single field in a form I had not thought about since the day I started. 2% of my salary for 4 years at an employer match rate of 100%. $14,400 I was offered as a formal component of my compensation package. Declined. Silently. Every pay period for 48 consecutive months. I found out about it during a conversation with a colleague at lunch. She mentioned she always contributed exactly to her employer match threshold, and I asked what she meant, and she explained it, and I went home that evening and looked up my plan documents for the first time since orientation. I found the match formula. I found my contribution rate. I did the math. I sat with it for a long time. My name is David, and in this video I am going to show you exactly what an employer match is, exactly why most people do not capture all of it, exactly what it costs across a career when you do not, and exactly what you do today to make sure you are not still declining free compensation every 2 weeks without knowing it. Let me start with the math, because the math is the reason this matters more than almost any other single financial decision available to someone earning a middle-class income right now. An employer match is a formal agreement by your employer to contribute additional money to your retirement account based on how much you yourself contribute. It is not a bonus. It is not discretionary generosity. It is a defined benefit written into your compensation package that activates automatically when you contribute above certain thresholds and produces nothing when you do not. The most common structure is a dollar-for-dollar match on your contributions up to a specific percentage of your salary. If your employer offers a dollar-for-dollar match up to 5% and you earn $60,000 annually, you contribute $3,000 per year and your employer adds $3,000. Your retirement account receives $6,000. You personally contributed $3,000 of actual money from your paycheck. The guaranteed return on your $3,000 contribution before the market does a single thing: 100%, guaranteed, immediate. On the day your contribution processes, your $3,000 becomes $6,000. There is no investment in the legal economy that offers a guaranteed 100% return. Not index funds, not real estate, not bonds, not savings accounts at any interest rate currently available. The employer match is categorically different from every other savings or investment vehicle available to a middle-class earner. And it is the single highest guaranteed return accessible to most people who receive a W-2. The second most common match structure is 50 cents on every dollar contributed up to 6% of your salary. On a $60,000 salary, that means you contribute $3,600 per year, and your employer adds $1,800. Your $3,600 contribution becomes $5,400 before the market touches it. The guaranteed return on your contribution in that scenario, 50%. On the day you make the contribution, before compounding begins, before the market does anything, 50%. Some employers use a tiered structure. Dollar for dollar on the first 3%, 50 cents on the dollar for the next 3%. The math varies, but the principle is identical. There is a threshold below which you receive nothing from your employer, and above which you receive guaranteed additional compensation that no investment product can replicate. Now, here is the number I want you to sit with before I explain any of the mechanisms. The average American worker who has access to an employer match and does not capture the full available amount leaves approximately $1,336 per year in uncollected employer contributions, according to a 2023 analysis by Vanguard of more than 4.5 million retirement plan participants. This is not the average person who participates in nothing. This is the average person who is actively enrolled, actively saving, and still systematically declining a portion of their employer's formal compensation offer every single pay period. Over a 30-year career, $1,336 per year invested at a 7% average annual return compounds to approximately $135,000. From one number in one HR system that the average participant set on their first day of work and updated 0 times across decades of employment, $135,000. Not from a sophisticated investment strategy, not from timing the market correctly or picking the right funds, from a single percentage in a single field that was never revisited after orientation. Now let me explain why the gap exists. Because the standard explanation, people do not know the match exists, is true for some people, and completely misses the primary mechanism for most people. The dominant cause of undercapture is behavioral, and it has a name in the research literature: default inertia. When you start a new job and enroll in a 401k, you are typically presented with a suggested contribution percentage. Most HR enrollment systems display a default. Most companies set that default at 3%. The Vanguard research I cited is explicit on this point. 3% is the most common default contribution rate across American retirement plans, and 63% of employees who enrolled at the default rate had never changed it as of the study date. 3%. If your employer matches up to 6% and you enrolled at 3% and never changed it, you have been leaving half your available match uncollected since day one. The reason people do not change the default is not financial ignorance in the traditional sense. Most people who have worked for several years understand in a general way that 401k contributions are good and employer matches are beneficial. The problem is not awareness. The problem is that updating the contribution percentage requires an active decision. The active decision requires logging into an HR system. Logging into the HR system requires remembering credentials and navigating menus that exist behind other things that feel more pressing. And at no point does anyone or anything create urgency around performing this specific action. The 401k contribution percentage sits in a quiet system doing quiet math. Your salary increases, and the absolute dollar amount of your contribution increases automatically, while the percentage stays exactly where you left it. This creates a particular illusion of adequacy. You see your retirement balance growing each quarter. You see your contributions on your pay stub. The system looks like it is handling itself. The illusion is accurate in one dimension. Your contributions are processing correctly, and profoundly misleading in another. Your employer's offer may still be substantially uncollected. There is a 2001 study by Brigitte Madrian and Dennis Shea that is foundational to understanding this behavior. They examined what happened at a large corporation when the company switched from opt-in 401k enrollment to automatic enrollment with a default contribution rate. Participation rates jumped dramatically. But the most striking finding was not the increase in participation. It was the persistence of the default. An overwhelming majority of employees who were automatically enrolled at the default rate stayed at the default rate for years. They had not chosen the rate. They had simply never changed it. And they continued not changing it month after month and year after year because the default had become invisible. The financial equivalent of a setting on an appliance that you adjust once and never think about again. Your 401k contribution percentage is one of the most consequential financial settings in your life. It is also one of the least visible. That combination, high consequence, low visibility, is the exact condition that produces the $1,336 annual gap that Vanguard documented across millions of accounts. There is a second mechanism that costs people more than the default rate problem in many cases, and it is one that almost no personal finance content explains clearly outside of HR training materials. The vesting schedule. When your employer makes matching contributions to your 401k, those contributions are not immediately and permanently yours in most cases. They are subject to a vesting schedule, a defined timeline over which you earn the right to keep the employer contributions if you leave the company. Your own contributions are always fully and immediately yours. The employer match is different. The two most common vesting structures in American retirement plans are cliff vesting and graded vesting. Cliff vesting means you own 0% of the employer contributions until a specific date, at which point ownership transfers completely and instantaneously. A 3-year cliff means that if you leave after 2 years and 11 months, you keep every dollar you personally contributed and all the growth on those dollars, but you forfeit every single dollar your employer ever matched. The entire employer contribution history disappears on your last day. A 3-year cliff means 1 month before the cliff date has the same financial impact on the employer match as leaving on day 1. Graded vesting distributes ownership gradually. A 6-year graded schedule might work as follows: 0% ownership after year 1, 20% after year 2, 40% after year 3, 60% after year 4, 80% after year 5, 100% after year 6. If you leave after 4 years, you keep 60% of the employer's total contributions and forfeit 40%. The forfeiture is real, but it is not total the way a cliff produces total forfeiture. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics National Compensation Survey, approximately 47% of private sector employees with access to defined contribution matching plans are subject to a vesting schedule that is not immediate. Of those, cliff vesting periods of 2 to 3 years are the most common structure. The average graded vesting completion period is approximately 5 years. This matters for a specific decision that millions of people make every year without doing the full math: job changes. Consider someone who has been at a company for 2 years and 4 months. Their employer has been matching their 6% contribution on a $65,000 salary dollar for dollar. 2 years and 4 months of employer matching at $3,900 per year, approximately $9,100 in employer contributions sitting in the account. The vesting cliff is at 3 years, 8 months away. That person receives a job offer from a competing company at a $5,000 salary increase. They evaluate the offer against their current compensation. They negotiate briefly. They accept. They give notice. On their last day, they leave $9,100 in employer contributions that had not vested. They also leave the future employer match from the remaining 8 months to vesting, approximately $2,600 more that would have deposited and vested if they had stayed. Total compensation walking out the door, approximately $11,700. The salary increase of $5,000 per year, after taxes at a combined marginal rate of 27%, produces approximately $3,650 in additional annual take-home. The $11,700 forfeited represents more than 3 years of the after-tax salary premium they accepted the new job for. This does not mean the job change was wrong. New roles offer career advancement, skill development, better management, improved culture, and other non-monetary factors that legitimately affect long-term earning power and quality of life. But a job change decision made without this number clearly on the table is a job change decision made with incomplete information. The vesting schedule value is part of your current compensation. It should appear in any comparison of what you have versus what you are being offered. The practical application is simple. Before accepting any job offer, calculate your current vesting position. Find your vesting schedule in your plan documents. Determine what percentage of your employer contributions are currently owned by you, and what percentage would be forfeited if you left today. Calculate the dollar value of the unvested portion. Put that number on the table next to the new offer. Make the decision with full information. The third mechanism is the interaction between the employer match and the 401k tax structure. And most people treat these as two separate benefits when they are actually a combined effect that makes the true cost of contributing substantially lower than the gross contribution amount suggests. Let me show you the complete picture. If you earn $60,000 and contribute $3,600 to a traditional pre-tax 401k 6%, your W-2 taxable income drops from $60,000 to $56,400 at a combined federal and state marginal rate of 27%. This reduces your annual tax bill by approximately $972. Your take-home pay does not decrease by $3,600. It decreases by approximately $2,628. Your employer then adds $1,800 in matching contributions under a 50% match formula capped at 6%. Your retirement account received $5,400. Your actual reduction in spendable income was $2,628. The ratio of what went into your account to what you actually gave up from your budget, more than 2 to 1. You reduced your spendable income by $2,628, and your retirement account received $5,400. Now take the dollar-for-dollar match scenario. $60,000 salary, 6% personal contribution, dollar-for-dollar employer, match up to 6%. Your $3,600 contribution reduces take-home by approximately $2,628 after tax savings. Your employer adds $3,600. Your retirement account received $7,200. You gave up $2,628 in spendable income. Your retirement account received $7,200. The ratio, 2.74 to 1. For every dollar you actually gave up from your budget, more than $2.70 entered your retirement account. This ratio is not available anywhere else. It does not exist in any savings product, investment vehicle, or compensation structure accessible to typical middle-class earners outside of the employer match combined with the 401k tax benefit. Yet most people, evaluating whether to increase their 401k contribution, compare the gross contribution to the paycheck impact and conclude the math is too tight. The gross contribution and the actual budget impact are different numbers. The difference is the tax savings, which is real money that comes back to you through lower withholding. The correct comparison is, what does my take-home actually decrease by if I increase my contribution to capture the full match, versus how much additional money enters my retirement account? In almost every scenario for middle-class earners, that comparison produces a ratio that makes the decision obvious. The friction is not the math. The friction is that no one has presented the math clearly. Let me now address the argument that comes up most reliably when this topic is discussed, because dismissing it would be dishonest and engaging with it properly is genuinely useful. The argument is, contributing more to a 401k now reduces cash flow I need to manage real present expenses: rent, food, car payments, debt service. These are not optional. These are not habits that can be adjusted on a spreadsheet. They are fixed obligations that my paycheck must cover. And after covering them, there is not enough margin to increase my retirement contribution by 3 percentage points. This argument is sometimes accurate, and I want to be specific about when it is and when it is not. For a household carrying high-interest consumer debt, credit cards at 18 to 25% interest rates, the math of the employer match changes. The guaranteed 100% return of a dollar-for-dollar match still beats a 20% credit card rate on a dollar-in, dollar-out basis. But the relationship becomes more complex when you factor in the locked nature of 401k funds, early withdrawal penalties, and the psychological weight of debt. The general guidance for high-interest debt above approximately 7 to 8% is to contribute to the match threshold, capturing the guaranteed return that no debt interest rate can beat, and direct remaining discretionary capacity toward debt elimination before increasing retirement contributions above the match. For a household without high-interest debt, but with genuinely tight cash flow, the relevant question is whether the monthly take-home reduction from capturing the full match is actually larger than the actual discretionary margin available. Not the theoretical margin, the actual one, on a $55,000 salary. Increasing a 401k contribution from 3% to 6% to capture a dollar-for-dollar match reduces take-home pay by approximately $83 per month after the tax benefit. $83. For most households, that is not a zero-friction adjustment, but it is also not a number that requires a complete lifestyle restructuring for the majority of middle-class households. It is closer to what a streaming service bundle costs, or 3 restaurant meals, or 1 unnecessary Amazon purchase per week. The point is not that $83 is nothing. The point is that the comparison being made in most households is not $83 out against $220 in employer match per month. The comparison that gets made implicitly is some version of saving feels tight versus saving feels uncomfortable versus not saving feels fine. And that comparison, which ignores the actual numbers, systematically produces the wrong answer. When you put the real numbers on the table, $83 reduction in spendable income per month versus $220 per month entering a tax-advantaged account where the employer contributed $137 that you would not have otherwise received, the decision becomes substantially clearer. The people who do not make the change are not primarily making a financial decision. They are making an inertia decision. The form was set years ago, and updating it requires an active choice, and the active choice requires a moment of deliberate attention that the automatic nature of the current arrangement never demands. Now I want to show you 4 people at different points of this picture because the numbers become real when they are attached to specific situations with specific consequences. First is Darius. He is 29, earns $58,000 per year, and started his current job 3 years ago. On his first day, HR gave him an enrollment packet. He set his 401k contribution at 3% because that is what the suggested default said, and he did not have a strong reason to override it. His employer offers a dollar-for-dollar match up to 6%. He has been contributing 3% for 36 months. He has never opened his HR portal since enrollment day. He does not know what his employer match formula is. He thinks of himself as someone who is contributing to his retirement and considers that box checked. Darius is capturing exactly half of the match available to him. His employer offered to double his contributions up to 6% of salary. He contributes $1,740 per year. His employer matches $1,740. His employer would match an additional $1,740 if he contributed an additional $1,740 of his own. He is turning down $1,740 per year in formal compensation because a form was never updated. 3 years of $1,740 per year at 7% return from the midpoint of that period, approximately $5,800 already left behind, not lost to bad investments, not lost to fees, declined. Because a number in a box still says 3. If Darius never changes this number, his career impact is severe. Assume he stays at this employer for another 7 years before moving on, contributions capturing his current 3% pattern throughout. At the end of 10 total years of employment at this company, the uncollected employer match compounds as follows. $1,740 per year for 10 years at 7% is approximately $24,100. He left $24,100 in employer compensation on the table by never updating one number one time. At a new employer, he will face the same enrollment form. If he starts the pattern again, 3% at a 6% threshold, The cumulative career impact continues to build. The fix for Darius: log into the HR portal today. Find the 401k contribution field, change 3 to 6, confirm, and submit. The process takes between 4 and 9 minutes depending on the system. His take-home pay will decrease by approximately $97 per month. His retirement account will begin receiving an additional $290 per month, $145 from his increased contribution, and $145 in additional employer match. Net retirement account improvement per month, $290. Net take-home reduction per month, $97. Darius is currently paying $97 per month to turn down $145 per month in employer contributions. The trade makes no sense in any financial framework. It is not a decision he made. It is an absence of a decision that is costing him as reliably as if he had actively chosen it. Second is Keisha. She is 32, earns $4,600 per month take-home, and has been contributing 5% to her 401k since she started her current job 4 years ago. Her employer matches 50 cents on every dollar she contributes up to 8% of her salary. She contributes 5%. She does not know her employer match formula. She selected 5% on enrollment day because it felt responsible, more than the default of 3, less than 10, which felt like too much. Keisha is leaving 3% of her salary uncollected every pay period. Her salary is $66,000. 3% is $1,980 per year in employer contributions she is not receiving. She has been doing this for 4 years. 4 years of $1,980 per year at 7% from the midpoint, approximately $8,900 in uncollected employer contributions plus growth. Her employer's partial match formula means she only receives 50 cents per dollar. So her own cost to close the gap is different from Darius's situation. To collect the additional $1,980 in employer match, she needs to contribute an additional $3,960 of her own money, increasing her contribution from 5% to 8%. At her combined marginal tax rate of 24%, a $3,960 pre-tax contribution increase reduces her take-home by approximately $3,010, or approximately $251 per month. She receives $1,980 in additional employer matching per year, $165 per month. Her account receives $330 per month in additional total contributions for a net take-home reduction of $251. This math is less dramatically favorable than a dollar-for-dollar match. She gives up $251 per month to collect $165 per month in employer contributions and contribute an additional $165 per month herself. The immediate ratio is not as compelling, but the long-term math remains decisive. The additional $330 per month entering her retirement account from age 32 to age 62, 30 years, at 7% annual return, approximately $392,000. Of that, approximately $59,400 came from employer matching contributions that cost her nothing beyond meeting the contribution threshold. She is currently declining $59,400 in future retirement wealth to avoid a $251 per month take-home reduction she has never explicitly evaluated. Keisha also needs to understand the vesting schedule for her plan. Her company uses a 4-year graded schedule, 25% ownership per year from year 1 through year 4. She is at the end of year 4, which means she is fully vested in everything her employer has contributed so far. This is actually a strong position. All 4 years of employer matching belong to her, regardless of when she leaves. She is past the vesting risk period entirely. Third is Marcus. He is 38, earns $5,600 per month take-home, and has been contributing to the full match threshold at his current employer for 6 years. He is fully vested. His employer offers a dollar-for-dollar match up to 5% of his $78,000 salary. He contributes 5%. His employer contributes 5%. His retirement account receives $7,800 per year from combined contributions. He has done the right thing for 6 years, and his retirement account shows it. Marcus's question is not about the match. It is about what comes next. He has read that the 401k contribution maximum for 2024 is $23,000, and he is contributing $3,900, which is 17% of the available space. He wants to understand whether the additional contribution room in his 401k above the match threshold is worth using versus other account types. The answer begins with his specific tax situation and health plan access. Marcus has an HSA-eligible high-deductible health plan through his employer. He has never opened an HSA. The HSA has a contribution limit of $4,150 for individuals in 2024 and is the only account type with triple tax advantage, pre-tax contributions, tax-free growth, and tax-free withdrawals for qualified medical expenses. For Marcus at his marginal rate, the full HSA contribution generates approximately $1,121 in immediate tax savings, while creating an account that functions as a medical expense fund now and a supplemental retirement account after age 65. After the HSA, Marcus should open or fund a Roth IRA up to the $7,000 annual limit. His income at $78,000 makes him fully eligible. The Roth provides tax-free growth and withdrawals in retirement, complementing the pre-tax traditional 401k by diversifying his future tax exposure. His current 401k is all pre-tax, meaning every withdrawal in retirement will be taxable as ordinary income. The Roth creates a pool of money that will be completely tax-free when withdrawn, which provides valuable flexibility when managing taxable income in retirement. After the HSA and Roth are funded, Marcus can direct additional capacity toward his 401k beyond the match threshold, up to the $23,000 annual maximum. The additional 401k contributions provide current year tax deductions at his marginal rate and tax-deferred growth, with mandatory distributions beginning at age 73. Marcus captures the match correctly. What he has been missing is the sequence that comes after it. He has been treating the employer match threshold as the end of the retirement savings decision, rather than the beginning of a priority order that has several more steps. Fourth is Elena. She is 43, earns $6,200 per month take-home, and is in a situation that requires a different kind of attention than the previous three. Elena has been at her current employer for 2 years and 3 months. Her employer offers a dollar-for-dollar match up to 5%. Her salary is $85,000. She has been contributing the full 5% for the full 2 years and 3 months. Her employer has matched every dollar. Total employer contributions to date, approximately $9,563. Elena's company uses a 3-year cliff vesting schedule. She will be fully vested in 9 months. Last week, Elena received a recruitment call about a role at a competing company offering $97,000, a $12,000 salary increase. The new company matches 50% up to 6% of salary. The role is a genuine step up in title and responsibility. Elena is excited about it and has a second interview scheduled. What Elena does not have clearly calculated is the full financial picture of leaving now versus leaving in 9 months. If she accepts the offer and leaves before her 3-year cliff, she forfeits all $9,563 in employer contributions. She also loses the employer match that would have deposited over the remaining 9 months of vesting, approximately $3,188 more. Total employer compensation forfeited by leaving 9 months before the cliff, approximately $12,751. The salary premium of $12,000 per year after federal and state taxes at her combined marginal rate of approximately 30% produces $8,400 in additional annual take-home. Over 9 months, that is $6,300 in additional after-tax income. She gives up $12,751 invested retirement wealth to collect $6,300 in additional take-home over the period she would have needed to wait. The immediate financial case for leaving before the cliff is negative by approximately $6,451. But Elena also needs to factor in the long-term salary trajectory. A $12,000 salary increase at 43 compounds forward through her remaining working years in a way that 9 months of delayed income does not. If she stays in the new role for 10 years at the higher base and receives similar percentage raises to what she would have received at her current employer, the cumulative salary premium may substantially exceed the $12,751 she forfeited. The point is not that Elena should stay. The point is that Elena should negotiate with the new employer, knowing the vesting cost explicitly. She can ask for a signing bonus or an accelerated compensation package that offsets the vesting forfeiture. Many employers will accommodate this request when the candidate presents the specific number clearly. Elena is a qualified candidate at a level where negotiation is expected. If she asks for a $13,000 signing bonus to offset the unvested match she is leaving behind, and the employer declines, she has full information to decide whether the non-monetary aspects of the role justify the financial gap. If the employer agrees, she leaves with no financial loss. Elena has been in 2 interviews and has not yet raised this calculation. She did not know the number until she ran it this week. The number has been available in her plan documents the entire time. I want to now address 2 additional mechanisms that the employer match conversation rarely includes, and both of them cost people real money in ways that are not obvious until you look at them directly. The first is the difference between match formulas that appear similar, but produce dramatically different outcomes depending on your contribution behavior. Consider 2 employers with the following match formulas. Employer A, 50 cents on every dollar up to 10% of salary. Employer B, dollar for dollar on contributions up to 5% of salary. Both employers match up to 5% of salary in total. But the behavior they reward is different, and the outcome for an employee contributing only 3% is very different. At Employer A, contributing 3%, you receive 50 cents per dollar, so 1.5% employer match. Total account contribution, 4.5% of salary. At Employer B, contributing 3%, you receive dollar for dollar match on 3%. Total account contribution, 6% of salary. Same employee contribution. Same employer maximum match limit. Different formula producing different results at the 3% contribution level. The employee at Employer A, who never looks up the formula and contributes 3%, is leaving 7% of available employer match uncollected. The employee at Employer B, contributing 3%, is capturing 60% of available employer match. Most employees do not know their employer's specific match formula beyond a general awareness that a match exists. Most employees could not tell you on the spot whether their employer uses a dollar-for-dollar structure, a partial match structure, or a tiered structure. The formula is in the plan documents. The plan documents are available through the HR portal or the 401k provider's website. Finding and reading the formula takes approximately 5 minutes and is worth significantly more per hour than virtually any other task a middle-class earner will perform this week. The second mechanism is the annual contribution rate increase that most employers offer and almost nobody uses. Many 401k plans include an automatic escalation feature, a setting that increases your contribution percentage by 1% per year on a date you specify, up to a maximum you define. If you enable this feature at a 3% contribution rate with an annual 1% escalation and a 10% maximum, your contribution automatically increases to 4% in year 2, 5% in year 3, and so on without requiring any active decision. Automatic escalation is the behavioral antidote to default inertia. Instead of requiring an active decision to update the contribution each year, it makes inaction produce the correct behavior over time. Vanguard found that plan participants who enrolled with automatic escalation enabled had contribution rates approximately 2 to 3 percentage points higher after 5 years than participants who did not, even when controlling for salary differences. If your plan offers automatic escalation and it is not currently enabled, enabling it today is a 30-second configuration change that will produce thousands of dollars in additional retirement savings over the next decade without requiring any further decision-making from you. Find the feature in your 401k provider's website or ask your HR department whether it is available. Here is the complete implementation, because a video that ends at the problem description without walking you through exactly what to do is not doing its job. Step 1. Find your employer match formula. This information lives in your employee benefits summary, your 401k plan documents, or your HR portal under the retirement plan section. You are looking for 3 specific pieces of information: the match rate, dollar for dollar, or a specific partial percentage. The match ceiling, the maximum percentage of your salary to which the match applies, and whether the match structure is tiered. Write these 3 things down on paper. They are the foundation of every calculation that follows. If you cannot find these documents, email your HR department directly with the following question: what is the exact employer match formula for our 401k plan? You will receive an answer within a day, and it will take them 30 seconds to provide it. This is not a complicated or sensitive request. It is information that is your right as an employee to have clearly. Step 2. Find your current contribution percentage. Log into your HR portal or your 401k provider's website. Navigate to the contribution settings section. Find the field showing your current deferral rate. Write it down next to the match formula you found in Step 1. Compare the 2 numbers. If your contribution percentage is below the threshold for maximum employer match, you are declining free compensation every pay period. Calculate the exact annual dollar amount of uncollected match, your annual salary, multiplied by the percentage gap between your contribution and the match threshold, then multiplied by the employer match rate. This is the number that should make this feel urgent. Step 3. Calculate the real take-home impact of closing the gap. Take the percentage gap from Step 2. Apply it to your salary to find the gross additional contribution needed. Multiply by 1 minus your combined marginal tax rate to find the after-tax reduction in spendable income. Compare that number to the employer match you would collect. In most cases, the comparison is dramatically favorable to increasing the contribution. Confirm this by doing the actual math with your actual numbers. Step 4. Update the number. In your HR portal or your 401k provider's contribution settings, change your contribution percentage to the threshold that captures the full employer match. This is the most important action in this entire video, and it takes between 3 and 8 minutes. Set a calendar reminder to verify that the change processed correctly on your next paycheck. Confirm that the employer match began depositing at the new level. Step 5. Find your vesting schedule. In the same plan, documents where you found the match formula. Locate the vesting schedule. Identify whether it is immediate, cliff, or graded. If it is cliff, find the cliff date and mark it on your calendar. If it is graded, create a simple table showing the ownership percentage you earn each year. This information should be visible to you before any conversation about changing employers. If you are within 12 months of a cliff vesting date, you are holding unvested employer contributions that will disappear if you leave before that date. Calculate the exact dollar value of those contributions using your current account balance detail from your 401k provider. That number belongs in any employment transition conversation. Step 6. Enable automatic escalation if available. Log into your 401k provider's website and look for an automatic increase or automatic escalation feature in the contribution settings. If it is available and not currently enabled, set it to increase your contribution by 1% per year up to a maximum you are comfortable with. The maximum should be no lower than the employer match threshold, and ideally higher, moving toward the annual 401k maximum over several years. Step 7. Understand the priority sequence beyond the match. The employer match is the mandatory first step in a defined priority order for tax-advantaged saving. After capturing the full match, the next accounts in the sequence are as follows. Chudra S.A. If you have an eligible high-deductible health plan, this account has the only triple tax advantage available to middle-class earners and should be funded to the annual maximum before other accounts beyond the match. Roth IRA, up to the $7,000 annual limit if your income qualifies. This provides tax-free growth and withdrawals that complement the pre-tax nature of most 401k contributions. Additional 401k contributions beyond the match threshold, up to the $23,000 annual maximum, for additional current year tax deductions and deferred growth. Taxable brokerage account last, after all tax-advantaged space is filled. The match captures the guaranteed return. The sequence after the match optimizes the tax structure of everything that follows. Understanding both is the complete picture. Here is the 30-year math I want you to leave with, because the abstract case for the employer match becomes undeniable when you see the specific numbers over a career-length horizon. Scenario 1. Complete match capture from age 25. Salary $55,000. Dollar-for-dollar match up to 5%. Personal contribution $2,750 per year. Employer match $2,750 per year. Total annual account contribution $5,500. At 7% average annual return for 40 years, approximately $1,170,000. Of that $1,170,000, your personal contributions totaled $110,000 over 40 years. Your employer contributed $110,000 in matching. Market growth on both produced approximately $950,000. Your $110,000 in personal contributions, combined with the employer match and market compounding, produced more than 10 times your personal contribution in retirement wealth. Scenario 2. Half match capture from age 25. Same situation. Contribution stuck at 2.5%. Personal contribution $1,375 per year. Employer match $1,375 per year. Total annual account contribution $2,750. Same 40 years, same 7%, approximately $585,000. The difference between capturing the full match and capturing half, $585,000. From a contribution difference of $1,375 per year, approximately $115 per month before tax savings. Scenario 3. Zero match capture from age 25, contributing nothing, leaving the employer match entirely uncollected. Zero personal contribution, zero employer match, zero account balance at retirement from this source. The comparison between Scenario 1 and Scenario 3 is $1,170,000 versus zero from a source of retirement wealth that required your employer to offer a match. The employer match did not require exceptional income. It did not require investment skill. It required contributing to a threshold that your employer defined in writing when you accepted the job. Scenario 4. Full match captured, but starting at 35 instead of 25, 10 years of delay. Same salary, same match formula, same contribution. 30 years instead of 40 at 7%, approximately $534,000. The 10-year delay cost $636,000 in ending balance, compared to starting at 25. The cost of 10 years of delay is more than 5 times your total personal contributions over the remaining 30 years. The employer match is not a retirement planning strategy. It is the floor of retirement planning. Capturing it fully and immediately is the minimum viable starting point for every other retirement savings decision to build on. My name is David. I found out I had been leaving $14,400 on the table at my previous employer during a lunch conversation that lasted less than 10 minutes. I went home that evening and looked up my plan documents for the first time in 4 years. I found the match formula, dollar for dollar up to 6%. I found my contribution, 4%. I did the math on what 2% of my salary for 4 years at the employer's match rate had cost me in uncollected contributions and compounding. The number was $14,400 in employer contributions, plus approximately $1,200 in growth on those contributions over the period. I had been contributing to a retirement account. I had been doing one thing right. I had not done the second thing right. And the second thing was worth $15,000 that I cannot recover. I changed my contribution rate to 6% that evening. I also called the HR department the following morning to ask about the vesting schedule for employer contributions, which I had also never looked at. I was fully vested from the contributions I had made. The change to 6% began with the next paycheck. I also asked my HR representative about automatic escalation. The plan offered it. I enabled it at 1% per year, up to 12%. 3 years later, my contribution rate was 9%, without a single active decision beyond the one I made the night I finally read my plan documents. The $14,400 I left behind at my previous employer is a number I think about clearly, not with regret in a paralyzing way, with the specific intention of making sure I understand every similar structure at every future employer before the second paycheck arrives. The information is in the documents. The documents are available. The decision requires reading something and changing one number. That is the complete cost of the most favorable guaranteed return in the American financial system. Reading the documents and changing the number. If this gave you something specific to do today, hit the like button now. The next video covers the complete account priority sequence, exactly what to do with every dollar after the match is captured, in what order, with the specific reasoning for why the sequence is what it is and what it costs to get the order wrong. One question for the comments. When did you last check your 401k contribution percentage against your employer's match formula? Not when you enrolled. When you last actually confirmed the number was capturing everything available. Drop the year below. The number of people who have never checked will tell me everything I need to know about what this community needs next.